The tail rose like a cathedral behind them, glass-bright, alive with static. Ardent Voyage hugged the skin of Comet Thalassa 9 as it slingshot the inner system, ice groaning under solar flex. Heat alarms blinked amber. The hull sang. "Hold the line through perihelion," Captain Elara Vance said, voice steady on the ship wide. "Rads are within tolerance. Helm, trim 2 degrees. 2 degrees, Ramos answered, hands tight on the haptic ring. "We're skating a razor here, Capital." "We brought skates," Elara said. "Stay with me." The bridge was a shallow bowl carved from the comet's ice, reinforced with ribbed alloy. Sunlight filtered through translucent walls in a violet haze, softened by algae veils grown for heat control. Every surface thrummed. Crew murmurs stayed clipped, panic had no room here. Elara stood in the center well, tether coiled against her spine, reading 3 overlays at once: thermal loads, tail turbulence, and mining lattice strain across kilometers of bored tunnels. They were using a star as a sling and a comet as a ship because humanity had run out of easy paths and patience. The Kuiper stations needed seed stock and fusion salts. Thalassa 9 had both. Elara had taken the commission and the risk not because she craved glory, but because she feared stagnation more than she feared the sun. A flare crested the photosphere. The comet shivered. Metal ribs complained like whales. Ramos grunted. "Tail shear coming starboard." "Kaya, bleed thrust on 3, Elara said. Chief Engineer Kaya Ing didn't look up from her grid. "Bleeding? Mining lattice is still tight. We're good." A red line cut across Elara's display, anomalous mass paralleling their path, distance shrinking. Not debris. The vector matched their arc too perfectly. "Scan is weird," said Tully at sensors. "Reflectivity oscillates. Not rock. Not ship. It's structured." Elara felt the quiet pull of a decision forming behind her sternum. They had planned for rogue ice, for flares, for lattice snaps. They had not planned for something choosing to run beside a comet through hellfire. "Put it on main," she said. The holopane bloomed with movement, a shape like a fluted wing, translucent and luminous, gliding within the torrent of particles. It surfed the tail as if it belonged there, shedding streamers that curled and melted into nothing. At its heart, a bright core pulsed, slow and deliberate. The bridge went silent. "Distance?" Elara asked. 400 meters off the Rhine, Tully said. "Relative speed near 0. It's pacing us." Ramos whispered, "Mother of." Elara, Kaya cut in, uncharacteristically formal. "If it's got mass that close, tail turbulence will couple. If it hits the lattice." "It won't," Elara said, though she couldn't know. "No broadcasts." "Nothing on any band," Tully said. "But I'm getting resonance. It's vibrating the ice at a harmonic." "Like a song," Ramos muttered. Elara kept her gaze on the display and made the call. "Ramos, you have the helm. Keep our line. Kaya, if the lattice squeals, you cut and we regroup on segment Gamma." "Copy." She keyed private comms. "Shuttle Bay, prep Piker. I'm stepping out." Her first officer, Soandel, shot her a look like a thrown wrench. "Captain, we are at perihelion." "You're not." "I am. If that thing wants a fight, we'll lose if we shoot blind. If it wants a conversation, we need to hear it." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Del clenched, then nodded. 30 minutes out and back. "After that, I pull you." 10, Elara said. "If I'm not in by 10, assume I'm an idiot and save my ship." She moved. The suit bit cold against her ribs. In the lock, she watched light pool against the inner ice, their world trembling under the sun's hand. She exhaled once, long enough to shed the last stray thought, and stepped into the Piker. The shuttle's skin was matte and scarred, its cockpit intimate, its thrusters overpowered by design. She'd helped test the first batch of these when she was 23 and too stubborn to live. She fit into it like a memory. Ramos' voice came through as the lock cycled. "You sure you don't want me to?" "Fly the ship, Ramos." The shuttle slid into raw glare. Elara's visor darkened, the sun became an iron coin she refused to look at. The tail wasn't fog here, it was a blizzard of charged dust and vapor, a ribbon storm roaring from the comet's back. Piker bucked. She rode the turbulence like she'd learned in atmospheric jets, small corrections, never overcompensate, trust the craft and your hands. The thing ahead shifted. It angled toward her, graceful as a ray in a current. She throttled down and let inertia carry. Their relative drift slowed until it hung before her canopy, close enough for structure to resolve. It wasn't a single body. It was an architecture of water held in form by light and rippling fields, facets within facets, like a cathedral grown from frozen waves. Its core glowed with layered hues, sea green, deep blue, lightning white, pulse slow, patient. Where it touched the tail, the turbulence eased, as if it smoothed the storm. Elara swallowed. Unidentified craft, this is Captain Elara Vance of the human vessel Ardent Voyage. We are conducting a legal slingshot and resource transfer. Identify yourself. Silence. Then the comet's eye spoke. A tone thrummed through the piker, through Elara's bones, down into the shuttle bay's anchored hull, into the comet itself. It wasn't in her ears. It was in the structure she rode. The sound resolved into patterns, not words but meaning. Desecration. Child fire. Memory stone. Her suit translated none of it. Her mind did the rest, laying human language over alien music. Elara steadied her breathing. We're not desecrating anything. We're alive because we learn to use what the dark gives. The comet still travels. We're passengers. The luminous figure flared, dimmed, then projected something against her canopy, a lattice of impossible trajectories, arcing across star charts, centuries long. Thalassa 9 had been moving on a plan long before humans carved tunnels into it. You think we hijacked a pilgrimage, she said. We redirected a fraction of the outer mantle. The heart stays. We don't break what keeps both of us alive. The figure's light gathered and narrowed, like an eye focusing. The tone changed, questioning now, less accusation, more measuring. Another pulse moved through the hull. Ardent's spine answered, unbidden, a sympathetic harmonic. The comet sang back. Elara felt her throat tighten. She flicked a tight beam with the bridge. You're hearing that, yes? Yes, Tully whispered. It's modulating at the lattice resonant frequency. Kaya is going to have kittens. In a minute, Elara said. She opened her channel again, but spoke softer, like addressing an animal that could crush her without malice. We are human. We took ice and light and made a way. We also bury our dead in the things that carry us. If this is a memory stone, we understand reverence. We can learn your way. The being drifted closer, slow enough that she could almost believe it feared startling her. The glow along its edges threaded out, delicate filaments brushing the piker's nose. Every instrument flattened. Static rose like snow. A shadow of a voice arrived, no words, but a cadence-like speech, shaped within the resonance. She risked a guess. You're a guardian. Or an envoy. A pressure touched her chest like the weight of a hand, approval, surprise, both. Then hear me as one captain to another, my crew depends on this run. The stations beyond Neptune depend on us. I won't abandon them. Silence stretched, but it wasn't empty. The comet hummed under her palms through the control grips. A memory surfaced, her mother's hands guiding hers on a piano when she was 6, teaching her to follow the chord instead of forcing it. She exhaled and let the shuttle settle a fraction deeper into the tail, matching the being's drift, allowing the shared medium to carry the conversation. The tone shifted again. Children. Fire. Promise. The cadence softened, then spiked, warning, while another pulse raced through the ice. Tully's voice cut in, tight. Captain, we're getting a secondary mass spike coming up from below the plane. Big. Elara cursed, eyes cutting to the tactical overlay. A slab of shattered crust, ejected by the flare, was tumbling up at a bad angle. If it clipped the mining lattice, kilometers of structure would tear, and the shock could crack the inner caverns where families slept. Kaya, Elara said, can we flex the lattice? If we have 10 minutes, Kaya said, and a miracle. We've got 30 seconds, Ramos said. The being's core brightened. The tail around it calmed, as if a hand pressed against the water's skin. The pulse that followed rippled through the comet's mass, altering the way the tail streamed. The slab's path kinked. It missed the lattice by 20 meters and spun away into raw light. The bridge erupted, a ragged exhale across 10 mics. Elara didn't join them. She watched the being, and it watched her. Thank you, she said. New tones moved through the hull, fast, lead, almost laughter, almost a scold. Then, stop carving the heart. A beat. Talk. Another beat. Kaelith. A name, she realized, offered like a bridge. Elara, she said, touching her chest. Elara Vance. The light at the being's core softened. The filaments retracted. The pressure eased. It drifted back, resuming its parallel glide above the comet's flank, still within the tail's glow, a companion rather than a threat. On the bridge channel, Dell's voice was low. Captain. Do we stand down cutters? Elara looked at the cathedral of ice around her, at the sunlight breaking itself into 1,000 colors through their living ship, at the envoy pacing them like a patient star. Duty pulled one way, wonder another, and beneath both lay the hard truth of hungry stations waiting in the dark. Power down the heartline rigs, she said. Keep the mantle taps running. I'll explain. To whom? Dell asked. To everyone, Elara said, and let the piker fall back toward the lock. Starting with our new neighbor. The comet's song lingered in the walls long after Elara docked the piker. Standing in the lock, she felt it in her ribs, a resonance buried deeper than sound. She hadn't imagined it. Kaya's engineers had measured vibrations across the entire lattice, as though the ice itself carried the envoy's presence. On the bridge, faces turned toward her, some expectant, some wary. First Officer Dell broke the silence. You made contact. His tone hovered between disbelief and reprimand. Elara unsealed her helmet. Frost steamed into the air. Contact of a kind. They gave me a name. Kaelith. Murmurs spread. Tully's eyes flicked between his display and her face. Captain, the resonance patterns are still active. It's not random. Structured sequences. I think they are trying to talk. Kaya barked a laugh without humor. Talk? Through a comet skeleton? Captain, I need half my team just keeping the lattice stable after that stunt. If this Kaelith keeps humming, I'll be patching stress fractures until we hit Neptune. Better fractures than corpses, Ramos muttered. Elara raised a hand. Enough. Kaelith diverted a rock that would have gutted us. That alone earns us the courtesy of listening. Dell folded his arms. An Earth command? You think they'll see it that way? Our charter didn't include first contact. Elara held his gaze. Charters don't matter if we're dead. And if they wanted a captain who played safe, they wouldn't have hired me. Hours later, the ship's daily rhythms dulled to maintenance hums. Families huddled in inner caverns. Crews checked systems with weary efficiency. Elara found herself alone in the observation bay, a hollow of ice paneled with transparent alloy, staring at the endless flare of the comet's tail. She keyed a private channel, modulating signal through the lattice. Kaelith. If you can hear this, we're not miners without thought. We are people. Would rather be neighbors than thieves. At first, only silence. Then a pulse throbbed through the alloy under her hands, low and layered. Words weren't spoken, but meaning bloomed in her mind, rough-edged yet unmistakable. Stone holds memory. You carve it blind. Why? Elara exhaled. Because memory doesn't feed our children. Survival demands fuel, salts, water. We cut where we must, but we leave the heart intact. A sharper pulse followed, like a reprimand. Would you carve your dead for warmth? She closed her eyes, hearing her mother's voice long gone. If it meant her grandchildren lived, yes. She would hand me the knife. Silence held, then softened. The next tone was quieter, almost curious. Humans burn quickly. Reckless flame. Why spread into dark? Elara leaned against the panel. Because stopping means dying. Because we want more than caves and ration lines. Because the stars are there. The pulse shifted into a chord that carried neither judgment nor approval, just thought. Stars devour. Still you chase. Strange. She smiled faintly. Strange is what we do best. The next days unfolded in hidden conversations. Whenever duty allowed, Elara returned to the observation bay and spoke into the comet's bones. Kaelith answered in echoes, tones rising and falling, meaning half-formed but growing clearer. They traded fragments of history. The Selari, Kaelith's people, had once been bound to oceans on their homeworld, then learned to ride comets across void and centuries. For them, comets weren't fuel but kin, memory stones bearing whispers of ancestors. Elara shared humanity's own migrations, fires in caves, sails across seas, rockets through vacuum. Where Selari saw reverence, humans saw tools. Yet in the overlap between respect and hunger, a bridge formed. One exchange etched itself deeper than the rest. You speak alone. Why not bring your others? Elara hesitated. Because my crew fears what they don't know. Some would rather load weapons than words. And you? I've spent my life flying into storms. Fear is just another kind of wind. You trim your sails and ride it. A long pause, then, perhaps not childfire. Perhaps ember. The word struck her more than praise. Ember, fragile, fleeting, yet capable of igniting forests. Not everyone aboard shared her fascination. In the wardroom, Del cornered her. You're hiding half your time in the observation bay. The crew talks. They think you're bargaining with ghosts. I'm speaking with an envoy, Elara said evenly. He leaned forward. Command will crucify you if they find out. They sent us to mine, not to play diplomat. Command isn't out here. No, but I am. And if you gamble our survival on, he cut himself off, lowering his voice. Whatever affection you're growing for that thing, keep it leashed. Your duty is to the Ardent. Elara's jaw tightened. Affection doesn't factor. Understanding does. Call it what you want. Just don't forget who signs our oxygen. She left him with the hum of recycled air filling the silence between them. That night, another resonance pulsed through the ship, urgent, unsettled. Elara rushed to the bay. Kaelith's form shimmered beyond the alloy, pacing the comet's skin like a predator unsettled in its territory. She touched the panel. What is it? The tone struck hard and fast. Cutters dig deep. Too deep. You wound the heart. Her stomach knotted. She snapped comms. Kaya, report. Kaya's voice came sharp. We've hit a denser vein. Pressure's spiking, but if we seal now, we lose half our output. Shut it down. A pause. Captain. Now. Relays clicked as the rigs powered down. Silence rippled through the lattice. The envoy's glow dimmed, tension easing. Elara stayed with the panel. They see the comet as alive. We can't treat it like scrap. Keep to the mantle layers only. On the private channel, Kaelith pulsed once more. You listen. That is new. Elara let herself breathe. Listening is the least I can do. The envoy drifted closer, glow brushing the panel. For an instant, Elara imagined the warmth of touch through frozen walls. Then the light faded, retreating back into the streaming tail. She remained alone with the comet's soft hum. Duty pressed one way, wonder another, but a quiet truth settled between. She had crossed a line. Not just with the envoy, but within herself. For the first time in years, the void no longer felt empty. It felt inhabited. By morning, the bridge carried tension thick as steel cable. Earth Command's latest packet burned through the relay, maintain output. Ignore anomalies. Priority resupply. Elara read it aloud, voice even. The crew shifted uncomfortably. Ramos muttered something about blind brass. Del stayed stone-faced. She folded the message into the console. Command doesn't hear the comet sing. We do. We balance survival with sanity. Mantle taps only. Heartline rigs remain cold. Del stared at her, unreadable. That'll cost us. Command won't accept half loads. They'll accept what we bring, or they'll send someone else next time. Kaya raised an eyebrow. If there is a next time. Elara didn't answer. Her gaze drifted toward the outer panels, where faint glimmers traced the tail. Somewhere out there, Kaelith paced them still. The crew saw risk, Command saw quotas, but Elara felt something else stirring, a current stronger than orders, deeper than duty. The comet carried memory. And now, so did she. The storm broke without warning. Elara woke to alarms screaming through the Ardent Voyage's caverns. She stumbled from her bunk, boots half-fastened, as the deck shivered beneath her. Red strobes cast harsh pulses across the corridor. The intercom carried Del's voice, strained but clear. Captain to the bridge. We've got incoming. She sprinted, weaving through crew spilling into stations. Children clutched parents, eyes wide. The hum that usually soothed the ship's belly had sharpened into a ragged vibration. The comet itself seemed unsettled. On the bridge, chaos lived in the displays. Tully rattled off readings, multiple Selari structures rising out of the tail, vectoring toward us. 4, maybe 5. They are projecting fields directly against the lattice. Ramos' hands gripped the helm so tightly his knuckles bleached. Tail drag spiking. If they keep that pressure, we lose trajectory. Kaya slammed a diagnostic pad onto her console. Mining lattice is flexing beyond safe thresholds. If they push harder, it'll tear. Elara braced herself at the center well. Put Kaelith on. Tully shook his head. No direct contact. Just those harmonics, loud, angry. The ship vibrated again, a deeper note. Everyone felt it. They're telling us to stop, Del said grimly. And they're not asking this time. Minutes later, Elara stood once more in the observation bay. Beyond the alloy, the tail boiled with luminous figures. The Selari envoy shimmered in the turbulence, each fast and deliberate, pressing fields against the comet's skin. Kaelith hovered closest, glow sharpened to a blade's edge. Elara pressed her palm to the panel. Kaelith. It's me. A pulse slammed through the ice, fierce, clipped. Warning. Stop. Or break. She spoke quickly, knowing every second cost them stability. We've already cut mantle flow to minimum. You know this. But my crew, our colonies, they need what we've gathered. You shut us down completely, they starve. The reply was harsher still. Heart-wounded. Stone cries. You do not hear. Elara clenched her teeth. I did hear. I shut down the Heartline rigs the moment you warned me. Isn't that enough? The envoy's glow flared, echoing through the others. Their harmonics collided, a wall of pressure against the comet's surface. The ship groaned. Behind her, Del appeared, voice low but sharp. You're wasting time. They've chosen force. Get off my bay, she snapped. Del didn't move. You gamble with lives while talking to light shows. My job is to keep this ship intact. If command were here. They are not. Exactly. Which means it's my duty to challenge you. Half the crew agrees. If you won't defend us, someone else will. Elara stared at him, a spark of cold realization in her gut. Mutiny? I call it survival. The comet shuddered again. The Selari pressed harder, cracks spidering along inner tunnels. Ramos' voice broke over comms. Captain, stress fracturing in Cavern Delta. Families are evacuating. Elara turned back to the envoy, throat dry. Kaelith, listen to me. If this continues, people die now. Not later, now. Do you want that on your memory stone? The tones faltered, uneven. Kaelith drifted closer, glow vibrating with conflict. The other envoys held firm, but Kaelith's harmonics softened, like a single voice slipping out of chorus. Elara pressed harder to the glass. We can't undo what we've taken. But we can stop here. You have my word. The heart stays untouched. Words are flame, quick to ash, Kaelith answered. Yet beneath the rebuke lay hesitation. Behind her, Del hissed. We can't keep appeasing them. Let me ready weapons. No, Elara said. Weapons tip this into slaughter. Del's jaw tightened. Then you'll lose the ship another way. He left, boots ringing against the deck. The envoy drifted even closer, filaments of light brushing the alloy like fingertips testing fragile glass. A single tone pulsed through the bay, not command, not threat, an invitation. Elara understood. She keyed her comm, Kaya, prep an excursion to tail segment theta. One person. Me. Captain, you're out of your mind. Probably. Do it anyway. The shuttle cut through turbulence worse than any storm she'd flown. The tail howled, iron particles streaking like knives across the canopy. At segment theta, she jettisoned the shuttle and stepped onto the comet's surface itself, boots maglocked to ice lit from within by eerie glow. Kaelith awaited her, towering, radiant, a living sculpture of water and light. The other envoys kept their distance, but their pressure never relented, holding the comet in a vice. Her suit translated nothing, but meaning struck anyway. See? Listen. Understand. Kaelith's filaments coiled around her, not touching but enclosing. The resonance deepened, and suddenly she heard it, the comet's true voice. The ice beneath her boots carried chords of memory, migrations of Selari long past, their lives etched into crystalline veins, journeys older than human civilization. She staggered under the weight of it. Faces flickered in frozen strata, not literal but impressions, joys, deaths, triumphs, grief, all bound into the comet's heart. It was archive, grave, and vessel all at once. Elara whispered, this isn't just stone. It's a living story. Kaelith's tones thrummed, gentler now. Yes? You cut without knowing. We guard. Her throat tightened. But we cut because we must. You think us thieves. But we're children scrambling for fire in the dark. If we don't, we vanish. Isn't survival also memory? The envoy's light flickered with unease. Then came another vibration, harsher, from the distant envoys. Stop them. End them. Kaelith pulsed in rebuttal, resonant, sharp and defensive. For the first time, Elara realized the envoy was not omnipotent. They too answered to peers, bound by duty as heavy as hers. She took a step forward on the ice, closing the gap. Her voice cracked but carried. Kaelith, if you see us as embers, don't let the others snuff us out. Let us burn. Not in conquest. In hope. The envoy wavered, glow bending toward her. The filaments touched her helmet, featherlight. For a breath, she thought the glass might dissolve, her skin bare to void and light. Instead, warmth spread across her chest, a strange intimacy no human body had ever known. You risk. You plead. You burn. Strange. Elara smiled despite the tremor in her lips. That's humanity. A sudden tremor cracked the surface under her. She flinched as shards lifted skyward, the other Selari escalating their force. The comet howled with fracture. Captain. Ramo's voice overcome, panicked. Lattice tearing at Gamma and Delta. If this keeps up. Elara cut him off. Hold. I'm working it. She turned back to Kaelith. Call them off. Please. Or there won't be anything left for either of us. The envoy flared, light bursting across the tail. The harmonics rippled outward, colliding with the others. For a moment, silence. Then the pressure eased. The distant envoys pulled back, their glow dimming into the torrent. The comet's song softened into low chords, cracked but steady. Elara sagged in her suit, pulse hammering. Kaelith hovered close, glow no longer sharp but muted, weary. Not ended. Only paused. More will come. She steadied herself, voice low. Then we'll face them together. But not tonight. The envoy's filaments brushed her helmet once more, tender, fleeting, like the brush of lips in a storm, before withdrawing. Elara turned toward the shuttle. Behind her, the comet still sang, fractured but alive. Ahead lay her crew, her ship, and the reckoning she could no longer delay. Back aboard, Del stood waiting in the bay, arms crossed, eyes hard. You bought us a pause, he said flatly. Not safety. Command will skin us when they hear we bow to aliens. Elara removed her helmet, breath steaming in the chill. We didn't bow. We survived. And if Command wants to argue, they can fly the next comet themselves. Del's expression didn't soften, but he didn't answer either. As she walked the corridor back to the bridge, Elara felt the envoy's fading resonance still echoing in her chest. Not surrender. Not victory. Something else. A fracture, but one that, perhaps, could be mended. The silence after the storm was fragile. The Ardent Voyage drifted through the tail's blizzard, its systems groaning from the strain of Selari pressure and fractured ice. Engineers worked sleepless rotations patching breaches. Families huddled in central caverns, whispering their fear that the comet itself might split. Elara felt the same fear gnawing at her, but she wore command like armor. On the bridge, she kept her tone clipped, her movement steady, even as exhaustion carved lines under her eyes. Del reported without looking at her. Command packet came through. They're demanding full resumption of mining. No exceptions. They want every gram of salt we can carry. Ramos muttered, blind bastards. Kaya didn't look up from her console. If we restart the Heartline rigs, the Selari will crush us flat. We won't survive another push like that. Del turned sharply. And if we don't, Command cuts supply allocations. Colonies out past Neptune collapse. Either way, people die. Pick your poison. All eyes shifted to Elara. She let the silence stretch until it grew heavy. Finally, she said, neither. We'll find another path. Del's jaw clenched. There is no other path. Yes, Elara said, rising. There is? Kaelith showed me. The next night, she suited up again. The crew didn't argue, most were too drained to fight her choice. Even Del stayed silent, though his stare carried every word unsaid. She launched in the piker, streaking along the comet's fractured flank. The ice glowed faintly from within, singing low chords of strain. At the edge of the tail, Kaelith waited, glow muted but steady, a lone sentinel against infinite dark. Elara opened her channel. Kaelith. It's worse. Command won't stop. My crew won't survive another clash. If we fight, it ends in ash for both of us. The envoy pulsed a weary chord. Humans always take. Stone bleeds. Why bleed again? Because I've seen your memories, Elara said, voice tight. I know what the comet carries. I won't let us kill it. But I also can't abandon my people. They are starving. Help me find another way. For a long moment, Kaelith didn't answer. Then light unfurled in slow spirals, beckoning. Come. Heart shows truth. The envoy guided her across the comet's surface into a yawning fissure that glowed within a fire. The crack led down into caverns where ice glittered like stars frozen mid-breath. Her boots crunched on glassy ridges as Kaelith hovered ahead, weaving light across the walls. At the chamber's center rose a crystalline core, vast and radiant, veins shimmering with memories centuries old. The ice pulsed in harmony with Kaelith's glow. This is the heart, Kaelith resonated. It remembers all paths. All journeys. Selari ride, never cut. You cut. But perhaps you can learn. Elara stepped closer, awed despite herself. The glow bathed her visor, flooding her thoughts with flickers, alien oceans, silvered skies, the Selari cradled in waterlight. Each image pressed against her mind like soft hands urging her to understand. Her voice cracked. It's beautiful. Sacred. I know. But if there's knowledge here, maybe it can save both of us. Kaelith extended filaments of light, wrapping gently around her gloved hand. The resonance deepened. The core answered. Vision surged sharper now, maps traced in stars, resource veins in forgotten comets, secrets etched into crystalline memory. 1,000 routes shimmered before her, not just fuel, but survival strategies the Selari had preserved for ages. Elara gasped. You've had this all along. Reserves beyond imagining. Why keep it from us? Because fire burns all it touches, Kaelith answered. We feared your hunger. But you listen. You change. The filaments brushed her helmet, featherlight. The warmth against her skin felt intimate, dangerous. She leaned into it without thinking, breath fogging glass, the contact like a kiss through ice and void. Then trust me, she whispered. Let us share this memory. Not as thieves. As partners. The envoy's glow softened, weaving around her like an embrace. If you betray, all ends. But if ember becomes flame with care, perhaps both live. Back aboard, Elara called an assembly in the central cavern. Every family, every crew member, even children perched on crates, waiting for answers. She stood on the dais, helmet tucked under her arm. Command ordered us to strip this comet bare. If we obey, the Selari will end us. If we resist, Command cuts our lifeline. That's the choice they gave us. She paused, scanning faces drawn thin by fear. I've chosen another. Murmurs rippled. Del crossed his arms. Elara lifted her chin. The Selari hold memory of other comets, rich, untouched, carrying what we need without bleeding hearts dry. They are willing to share, if we honor their way. We stop carving blind. We take what sustains without killing what carries. In return, we gain not just fuel, but allies. Kaya frowned. Command will never approve. Command isn't here, Elara said. We are. Out here, survival is our law. I won't send us into another clash. I won't tear apart a people's history for quotas. We chart a new course. Del's voice cut across the cavern. You defy orders, risk treason, and tie our fate to creatures we barely understand. And you ask us to follow? Elara met his stare. I don't ask. I lead. But I won't drag anyone blind. You've seen what defiance costs. You've heard the comet sing. Decide for yourselves whether to keep burning or to try another way. The cavern was still. Then Ramo stepped forward, voice steady. I'll follow the captain. Better an ember that learns than a flame that dies. One by one, others added their voices. Not all, but enough. Even those silent did not step away. Del held her gaze, then shook his head slowly. You've chained us to your gamble. Pray you're right. Days later, the Ardent Voyage altered course. The mining rig stayed cold along the Heartline. Kaelith and the Selari glided beside the comet, no longer adversaries but uneasy companions. The families in the caverns felt the difference, less groaning fracture, more steady hum. At the edge of the observation bay, Elara watched the envoy pace them. The tail blazed behind, scattering light across her visor. She pressed a hand to the glass. Kaelith's glow pulsed once, slow and deliberate. Meaning struck her chest like a heartbeat. Together. For now. She smiled faintly. For now is enough. The comet surged forward, carrying them into dark uncharted paths. Behind, the sun dwindled, ahead, 1,000 possible journeys waited. For the first time, Elara didn't feel like a thief clinging to survival. She felt like part of something greater, human fire bound with alien memory, daring to blaze brighter than either alone. And in the glow of the tail, fleeting but real, she carried the memory of a touch like a kiss across void and light.